What's good YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Lost in Conditioning. If you want to grow more, you should probably train less than what you're doing. This may seem a little bit contradictory to a video I made previously that if you want to grow more, you have to train more often. But these two videos actually mix up perfectly together. Because the thing is, you should train more frequent, but you should train with probably less volume per session that you're actually doing. So in regards to that other video, I talk about how much you are doing, which could potentially be too much, and you need to actually do less and train more often. If you have, let's just put a number on it for ease of use, if you do 20 sets of a muscle per week, if you do that all in one go versus you split up to 3, then ultimately, if you blast it out all in one session, doing that will most likely actually place a greater recovery demand for your body as a whole, but also that particular muscle group, versus then if you're actually taking and split it up into 3 sessions, more or less equal. So this is why I say it's better that if you split it up versus trying to blast it all into one go. If you are going to do, let's say, 20 sets of quads, and there's probably a good chunk of that that's going to consist of a squat and some lunges, that's going to be overall a lot of work for your lower body, and it's going to be a significant amount both your hamstrings, glutes as well, and not just your quads, and that's going to carry over onto your next few sessions coming up in the week. And if your fatigue basically bleeds into the next few sessions because you actually did too much, if it bleeds into the session in the week that you're in, it will bleed into the week after and the week after and the week after. And ultimately, what this will actually do is hold you back from what you could potentially get to in a few months' time, and you'll actually end up being weaker and smaller, ultimately speaking as well, because you want to grow, than you could be if you actually split it up and it was a bit more manageable volume, and it will be a lot more easy for you to recover from. Something along the lines of 5 to 8 sets on a muscle group per session is realistically all you're really going to need. Anything beyond that is likely just moving you towards chunk volume, or as I will call it, trash volume. Some will call it junk volume, but I'll call it trash because it's not just going to be too much. It's literally going to hinder you, which is why I would basically call it trash instead of junk. So this is the big reason behind it. So if you are doing, let's say 6 sets, just to make it easy, instead of having a range, 6 sets of chest 3 days a week versus doing 18 sets in one big blast. For one, if you can do 6 sets and move on to something else, or realistically maybe even go home, how quickly are you going to be finished versus like how much time are you going to spend in the gym if you're going to do 18 sets? The amount of time that you spend in the gym gets to be increasingly disproportional with the amount of sets that you're doing. So if you're going to do 5 sets, 10 sets, or 15 sets, it's not that the time is going to scale on a linear base. It's not like if it takes you half an hour to do 5 sets, then it's not like it's just going to take you an hour and a half to do 15 sets. It could potentially take 2 hours instead. Because realistically speaking, the more sets you do, the more tired you get. And the more tired you get, the more rest time you end up taking in between sets, or the more you basically end up postponing in between sets, which also means you basically get more rest, but you end up just trying to postpone it, because it's getting increasingly difficult. So you drastically, disproportionately increase the amount of time spent in the gym. So if you could be in and out quicker and recover faster and more efficiently for next session, then it would ultimately be the better version of just going in, doing a few sets, and then go home. Realistically speaking also, most people that go to the gym are not there to be some sort of professional athlete. So the chances are that you're not going to need to do as much, as some people will lead you to believe. As an example, Alex Leonidas, he has many times been posting about how many sets he do in a single session, and if I remember correctly, quite often he's around like 9 to 12 sets per session. And well, Alex is super strong, and we also know that the stronger you are, disproportionately, the harder it is for you to recover. So we know this is as a fact as well, that the weaker you are, the more you can basically get away with. But you shouldn't try to do more in order to get away with it. You should be doing what would be working best. Just because you can get away with doing 35 sets because your strength levels is so low, it don't really tax you all that much. You shouldn't be doing it in the first place, because you shouldn't try to get away with something. You should try to do something and be as efficient with it as you can possibly be. And realistically speaking, you're not going to need that many sets. We can look at a lot of people like Alex Leonidas, Michel Hooper as well, world's strongest man 2 years in a row. And if I remember correctly, he does a little bit more than Alex, but that's also because he practices strongman, and a lot of things for strongman is very skill specific, so it's a little bit different ballpark realistically speaking. But if I remember correctly, it's about 12, maybe 15 sets or so that he does per session. So realistically speaking, if we take these two people, extremely strong people, as an example of how many sets they're doing, and none of them are actually moving into 20 sets or plus and beyond, really, in terms of their training volume. Realistically speaking, if they don't need it as hyper advanced lifters, you as a regular person, do you really think that you're going to need that? The answer is simply no. Thank you for watching. Lars English.